Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video we'll be looking at APIs and data fetching, because previously for all the data that you're seeing on the screen we had to hard code it, but now it's the high time that we actually get some data from a database somewhere, data which is dynamic, and so we need to make API calls. So for the purposes of this video we are only going to work on get request. This just means fetching data. In the next video we'll be looking at post request, and after that we'll look at put and patch, basically meaning editing the database. Maybe you're editing a product, adding more details to a product. The reason I've decided to split them is that we must begin with get request, because I believe they are the easier ones to understand. Then we'll build up on that and do post requests, which is a bit difficult, especially now in this case that we'll be uploading actual images. So in the next video we'll look at how do you maybe upload an image when you are creating a product, or how maybe do you even take a photo using the phone and upload that. So without further ado, perhaps let me just first jump to our GitHub. And so looking at our repository, you'll find that we've already done React navigation and React Native elements. I need to update this. So we are at the API calls. So the reason I want to do them in that order is that we first understand get, we do post, and then patch. Then after that, maybe the fourth video from now, we'll talk about tokens, because they are important in the next stage when now we look at authentication. How do we log people in? How do we log them out? How do we create new users? And all of that, because now you are going back and forth and creating tokens and authenticating people, we must understand the basic of get and post. So without further ado, let's jump straight to the code. So here I've opened the project. I'm first of all going to activate the backend. In this case is the Django backend. Again, maybe in your project you can be using another backend like Firebase, Ruby on Rails, or whichever framework that you're using. In this case it really doesn't matter. So I'm going first of all to I've already activated the Python in the environment. So I'm going to say manage.py run server, and in this case for Django specific users is important to do the actual port that you're going to do. In this case I'm telling it to run on localhost 8000. So that's working, and then we need to move to the native folder. Then I'm going to start Expo start. Okay, so as that is starting up, again I'm going to open up, this is the app. We can see here that we had only made this home screen.js, which contained our home screen. Here we had the search row, we had the categories row, we had the new products row. So perhaps the best the best way to visualize this will be once the emulator comes up. I'm going to press A here, opening on Android. This should pop up in a second. So we had the search row at the top, it's going just to come up. We had the categories row. This one we are going to program to pull some database afterwards. And then we have the new products row. Let's see what else we had. Daily needs. So I think in this video we'll be editing the new products row. So if I look at the emulator, okay, still new update available. It's downloading a new version of Expo. So as that is downloading, we can look, it's just finished. So we can look at, we have these categories, we have these new products, and we have the daily needs. For this case, we are just going to fetch dynamic data of this. And I think we also need to make this to scroll horizontal, so that maybe if you have like 5 products or 10 products, you can be able to scroll. So what I've done for this video, I've actually gone ahead and I've actually implemented this in the backend. So if I come here to Firefox, I go localhost, I go 8000 /API / I believe products /list. I've already done this in the backend so that we could not waste a lot of time doing that. And here I have an API endpoint that returns a JSON format of a list of things, which we are going to have name, like cabbages, a description, because each product here, for example, like this one, you have the picture, you have the price, you have the name, you have this, like here is, we are selling 3 mangoes at a go, dispenser is 10 liters, a cabbage is measured in kilos. If you are doing something else, let's say like kale or spinach, maybe it's done by bunches. So that is what here, I'm calling it package details here on the left. The stock amount, I'm also keeping track of how many of that products is there so that when people buy it, we can know when the stock is out. We have a URL containing the picture, which we are going to showcase here. We have the seller information. This one we are going to expound later. Right now it's only a primary key. We have delivery option. This means can this item be delivered to you or you have to go and collect. We have the categories. These categories down the line will come here or up top. And we have the date this was created and the day it has been modified. Okay, super. So for the purposes of this video, we are going to pull data from this URL, which is in localhost. Okay. So having said that, we are going to come to code. So we are going to change this hard-coded, this product row. We are going to change like we are going now to change like these mangoes and put the data that we get. So to start off, what we do, because this is a functional component, we need to fetch the data. And there are different ways in which you can fetch the data. One, you can use fetch, which is what you're going to do. Let me just Google this. So I can come here and say fetch React Native. So this is the native implementation or the wrapper around XML HTTP request. Is the most bare bones and the most basic way you can fetch. Although there are other libraries, for example, like Axios, which is popular. I don't like using it. And down the line, we are going to look at, I think here I've written, where is it? React SWR, which is state where revalidate, which is like an awesome way of doing data fetching and persisting. So here in the documentation for React Native, it's saying for us to fetch data, this is an example of a post request. Let's see if they have a get. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. Don't worry too much about this. I'm going to explain. So for us to fetch data, we must do a couple of things. You must create a function that then calls the data. So I'm going to say function, let's say, need to spell correctly. Function, let's say we say get products list. Again, you can call this whatever you want. So basic function. And so I'm going to paste whatever I've copied from the documentation, which you must always remember to do a return fetch. So instead of this URL, we are going to use our localhost URL. So I'm going to come here and copy this URL. Again, this can be different depending on what you are using. Like that. This is actually wrong, but we are going to come and... So basically what is happening here is we have this function, and this function is returning this fetch function, and this fetch function is what is fetching data from our database. So basically the way I like doing this is that you fetch and you put a URL. So we are telling the application, go and fetch data from this URL. And what you fetch, now this is the response, convert it to JSON, then take whatever you've converted to JSON and do something with it. Okay, in this case they had just said return json.movie. So we are going to edit this to fit our own. So what I like doing is I like saying response, then of course convert it to response.json, because like now my backend, if I come here, you'll find that my content is in application.json. So this one can be either response.json, you can even do response.text, which is just going to return you like a blob of text. Yeah, so you can see if I do response dot, it's either JSON or text. Yeah, in this case I select JSON, IntelliSense is your friend, then that JSON will do something with it. So in our case, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create state, and I'm going to say products. I'm going to use state, but actually before we do that, let me just console.log products, just to see. No, I'm going to call it JSON, just to see what gets returned. Okay, now let's see if this works. So because this is we are using React hooks, this won't be called until we implement useState. So I'm going to say useState, and because I've forgotten how to do that, I'm just going to come here and say useState. I'm still learning myself. So useState, I'm going to check again all the time. Nobody is like okay, first of all I'll copy this. I'm actually looking for useEffect. That's an error on my side, but first of all I'm going to copy this because I'll need it. Then I'm going to look for documentation for useEffect. useEffect, using the useEffect hook. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this as it is. I'm hoping by now you guys can understand the differences between useEffect and useState, so I'm not going to go into that. So in this useEffect hook, I'm going to call get products list. I'm going to call this, and I'm going to add an empty braces, meaning this function will only get called once when the component mounts. So this is equivalent of using component did mount for people who are using class components. So I need to import these two things. So I'm going to come here, I say useState, and useEffect. So first of all I'm going to highlight that out. So let's see if you are getting something. So it's saying it can't find variable useState. Okay, so finishing. So let's see what the error is. So if I come here and it's running the application, and I'm going to do, yes, I'm going to do a console log here, console.log, and I'm going to call it useEffect, so that we can just see if the useEffect is being called. Okay, I've saved. Come back to the application. Okay, it's not running here. Seems to have closed off. Open this. So we want to see what if you are getting anything JSON here. So it's opening, loading. Just give it a second. Again, on your side it will be slightly faster because you'll be, I'm assuming you're using a real phone and not an emulator like myself. So just give it a second. Okay, it's loaded. useEffect has been called, but we are not seeing, it's saying network request failed. So of course this is not going through, so we need to troubleshoot. So if I go back to my slides, an important thing to note is we are going to have three distinct situations. One is when you are using an emulator for people who are using their device, to scan the QR code, and the people who will have an actual app in the App Store. And in each one of these three scenarios, we are going to have different ways in which we call our URL. In this case, when you are using the emulator, we must make sure to use this exact address, 10.0.2.2. then /port, in our case it will be 8000. If you are using the device, so if you've taken your phone and you've scanned, what you need to do is, if I can just eject out of this, you need to come to command prompt and type ipconfig and come to your wireless or whichever connection you have here. In my case is I'm using Wi-Fi, and this is the address you pick and paste. If you are on Linux, is ifconfig, like that. In this case, of course it won't work. So if you are scanning on your device, copy this address, come back to your code, and instead of this localhost 8000, you copy that. But in my case, because again we are using, and if you are in the App Store, of course your address will be https some www.yourproject.com or .net / and it must be https. Otherwise, especially like the most of these like the Apple App Store, it will refuse your app. So in our case, we are using the emulator, so we'll always use this address. And this is important. In one of the next videos, I'll show you now how we are going to dynamically separate all of these, so that if you are working with your emulator, we are safe. Even when you push our code to the App Store, the app is going to use the App Store URL and not the emulator URL. So in this case, I'm just going to copy this because I'm lazy. Come back to the code, and instead of this is for people who are using their device, and I'm going to save, and I need now to close this. I won't use this anymore. Don't save. Okay, come back here. Okay, useEffect has loaded again, and now it's telling us JSON.parse error, unrecognized token, this one. So for first timers, for people who are doing this for the first time, this is one of the errors that can really throw you off. But whenever you see this error saying JSON.parse error, unrecognized token, opening this bracket, this is a React Native way of telling you, it's not my problem, the problem is somewhere else. In this case, it's telling you the problem is in the backend. It's like, like the classic breakup where somebody tells you it's not you, it's me, or now it's the other way around. It's not me, it's the other person. So whenever you see this, just know there's something wrong with your backend. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I can switch off to, again, I've dealt with this problem for quite a while. If I come to my backend here, it's telling me it's a bad request, and it's telling me invalid HTTP host header. This one, you may need to add this to my allowed host. Again, this is a Django specific problem because I'm trying to access my Django localhost without allowing this IP address. So what I need to do is copy this. I'm going to come to my Django, which is now, it was in the Daraja folder here in the settings. I come to the local file. I look at allowed hosts, and our allowed host, they are telling me is in config. So we put this allowed host in the, if I can remember correctly, it's in the .env file. So I'm going to click .env file, and I'm going just to add this here and put a comma, like so. Then I'm going to close and save. Okay, it's restarting. Okay, so now I come back to our node. I'm going to do a minor change. Okay, reload, useEffect, perfect. And now you can see that we are getting the data. It's here streaming slowly. Again, my computer is hanging because of everything. So the data is coming. So this means that we can now take this JSON and save it as state. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to call these products. I'm actually just going to call them products. And I'm going to say set products useState, and this will be, we are going to start with a null first, because before it loads then it will be a null. And so instead of returning JSON here, we are going to say set products, and we are going to set products with the JSON data. Perfect. And so we've not got any error for now, which is okay. I'm going to remove this console log. So now we have a function that we are calling whenever we mount the component, is fetching the data, and we are now saving it as state. Super. So now the next step now from here is pretty straightforward, is now coming here and replacing this products row. Oops. Something is happening. Anyway, and now changing this, not the new products row. Let me look here. Yeah, and this products row with now this other one. And now to do that, the best way to do that is to use a flat list. So I'm going to come here to React Native, and I'm going to search flat list. Again, if we wanted to be lazy for the purposes of, if we just wanted to be lazy for the purposes of just using this, instead of now coming and iterating through our JSON data, which will be a bit tricky, I can just come here to, like this is the mangoes, and let me just see where it starts. Perfect. This is the like button, this is the image. So instead of these mangoes, I can just come now here and say, I can just put this, and I say if products is not equal to null, and I can say it's products, and I pick, I believe, the first object in the array, and I say then dot, is it dot name? Yeah, and if it's null, we just put an empty string. This is just it might be the second item or the first one, but we want to change this one, which has a price tag of 25 shillings, which is it's refreshing. Just give it a second. Again, this is assuming we only have two. Yes, and here it is. And if we just want to make, oh, oops. Dismiss. Something happening. I'm just going to close this for now. And I can do the same here for the price. I can say it's okay, let me just first of all close. I'm closing the front end. I'm going to close here a few things just to save on RAM. And I'm also going to close it here. Something is happening where I'm going to close this terminal because it's crazy, and I'm just going to go to native, and I'm going to say Expo start. Again, apologies guys. We want to see if this data will come up the way we want now that I've replaced the statically typed data with the dynamic data. The most important part has already been done. Again, this is assuming we are only going to have two. So if you want more, we are just going to do a flat list and call it a day. So I'm going also to close this, starting this. going to close this as well. Okay, press A to, not there, but press A here to open. Let's see if any errors come up. Save. As that is opening up, I was saying here we need to come and look at a flat list. Exactly. And then copy just the implementation, which will be very basic. So that is loading. Come here, check if this data is loading, give it a second, and also wait for the flat list. And also I think also my internet is not that great today. So what I know about flat list is that we need a render item function, and we need like which returns that, and the data must be there, of course, and we need like an extra data field. So let's wait for this to load. Apologies for my internet today. Something went wrong. Reload this. Okay. Yeah, you can see it's come and it's changed the name here now to the dynamic name, and now we can do the same for the second one. But for the purposes of making this more dynamic, I can even change now this image to, let's try to also to change the image to what is there. Okay, the image is up top. Okay, so it's saying source is going to require something. So I think I can change, instead of hard coding, I can say this, or an empty string if products is not. So maybe we don't need this, and we don't need this. Okay, let's see. So no, this will be, is it picture? I believe from the URL, let's just have a look so that we are accurate. Yeah, it's .picture. So components, let's see. Components require products, so it's showing this as an error. Oh, I understand why. Of course, if whenever our state is null, we cannot have an image with a null or an empty string URL. I believe that's why we have, I believe that's why we are having the error. So what we can do in this case is this. Let me just, what we can do is this, I believe. So if the product is not null, we can have this image component. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut this. So we are going to say if this exists, have this image, and its source will be that .picture. Otherwise, if we are still loading, actually we can load this with an activity indicator. Actually, that's what I'm going to do. Activity indicator. Okay, and we need to import activity indicator, is already there. So I'm going to save this. So guys, because of time, what I'm going to do after this, I'm going to implement this flat list, and I'm going to share, because basically we need this data, which we have. This is what we've gotten from the API. We need to have a render item that takes an item and returns, in this case, like it's the view. Then actually we'll just do that. It just take 5 minutes. Okay. And I don't know, now we are facing the same error here again. I don't know why every time Expo is create a new my VS Code has hanged. As I'm resolving that, let me just look at image. There's something I also think here. I think for image, when you have a URL, you don't do requires. I think you just do URI. Okay, let's wait for this to open. Keep waiting. I don't want to close. So image. No. Let's see if they have another example. Source require. Okay, I have to reopen this window. God. Okay, as that is happening, one more thing that I forgot. It's usually good practice. Whenever you do fetch, there's something else we call, I like calling them API options or lookup options. These are like ways of telling the API, this is how I'd like you to fetch data. By default, it's going, for example, to assume this is a JSON endpoint. But there's usually, when you do fetch, the fetch function takes in two things. So fetch, if I can spell, takes in URL and something else called, you can call it whatever you call. Let's just call them options. And these options is usually like a dictionary of additional information. So in this case, just out of, it will still work as it we have demonstrated is working, but it's always good to do like a comma and add a dictionary that contains a few things. So the first thing we are going to look at is something called accept. We are also going to look at content type, and we're also going to look at authorization. So three things. There's something called accept. So I'm going to come and say again, because the dictionary is a key pair, key value pair. And I'm going to say accept, and I'm going to say application.json. It's actually /JSON. That's one. Then there's something called content type, which is like that. And this will also be application /JSON. And we have a third thing. We won't use this one in this case, and it's called authorization. Again, this is what we'll do like 2 videos from now. And this usually it will be something like token and a random number. And now, okay, another thing I usually forget all the time is that content type needs to be, it's complaining here, it's because this needs to be a string. For whatever reason, accept is usually like that, content type is a string, authorization is like that. You'll get used to that. So the question is, can our app work without declaring this? Yes, well, of course it will still work, but it's usually good to explicitly add these two things. Authorization in this case, because we are not using any usernames, passwords, we are not going to do that. But down the line, whenever you're getting data, you'll have to prove that you are logged in, and it's only logged in users will get access, so we'll be doing authorization. And that's why if you come here to our list, you'll find here there's an accept and there's a content type. Even our backend wants those things, so we must include them. And here I've said accept anyone. Here in my backend, I've said accept anyone who is requesting this data. And it's true, if I showed you my backend, if I come to, I think I've called it what? Products. If I come to API and I come to views, you'll find for product list, I've said permissions allow anyone to access this endpoint. That's why deliberately I put it like that, so that we don't have to deal with tokens. This one is a topic for another day. Awesome. So now, of course, if I run this application, it will still run as expected and we'll still see the results. The only touch in this case will be I've added like a spinner. Let's see. It's already giving me an error. Invalid call at line 338. 338 is this require. I wonder if I do that, and if I do that is going to work. Maybe not. Maybe if I do this and I put, is it a dollar sign? I think like that. Again, you have to deal with these things. Okay, let's see if reload. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay, let me just quickly look at the documentation, then I'll be right back. Yeah. So here I'm seeing it's source URI. So I'm just going to copy this. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think it's required. It's only required for like actual images that you have. So I can just take this. And so URI, I'm going to put, instead of this, I'm going to put that. And I'm going to cut off this one. Okay, come on now. Like that. I'm going to refresh here, reload. Oops. Again. It should be faster for you guys using fonts. So I just want this to work. Then we do a quick flat list and hope that one works. If not, then I can just do the flat list on another video. Come on, come on. So the behavior I'm expecting to see is we see a spinner before it loads, then it actually loads the image. And it should be totally different now. It should be like cabbages only. Oops, okay. Can't find variable URL. Get products. Okay, I forgot to. Yeah, this does not exist. That was just to explain. Okay. Dismiss. So this is also another problem that is, it's facing Android with the new SDK that I downloaded. I updated my Expo, is that you cannot just do double click to reload. So every time you have to restart, which is kind of annoying, but I'm sure those guys said that they are working on a bug fix. Perfect. So I expect like a spinner, it's going to wait, then cabbages and the image. Oh, okay, so the image is not loading, and I think I know why. Just let me just check. At least we're not getting an error, but I think I know why it's not. Okay, I need to console log this out of curiosity. 0 dot picture. Let me just see what gets returned. is what gets returned. And just a second, guys, there's something I'm looking at. Yes, so I know why this is failing. So this is a backend issue where we don't have any access to media, and this is something that I need to fix. So this is so the current path media images, so I can try to fix that quickly. Django media URL. I need to fix a few things in my backend, but I don't want to waste your time, guys, doing that. This is a classic Django problem, in which in our main.urls we need to add something here called plus, is it plus equals, and we need to say media something something something, managing static files, Django media URL main. Okay, so I've just seen this one. This is what I was mostly used to, so I'll try to use this one. This is what I've mostly used in my previous projects, URL plus equals to static, because it's giving me a bad operand type for plus. Let's see if hopefully if this fixes the okay, so yes, and now we can be able to load everything. And now if I try to reload this, which won't happen until I try to change something, though it's giving me some errors, but that's okay as long as we have what we want. Again, this has decided to fail again. I'm going to close and start this server final time, then we call it a day. Close these two. So the project is starting. Going to check my backend as this other one is loading. Okay, this is some problem with our backend. I usually get this error whenever like there's images and other, especially when images is, but I think now it should work. Yeah, so wait for this, Control A, pop up, load. Fingers crossed, guys. Okay, so it seems it's opened up, it's loaded the data. Again, the image still has not come, and now that's where I'm starting to get worried. But weirdly enough, no errors. Let me see. I'm going to put a height of let me just put something like 50 and a width of 50. I want to see something here. Border color I'm going to put blue, and border width of 1. Okay, so let's see if this changes anything. There's something I want to check, because we are not having any errors in the backend, I hope. Yeah, we are getting even the image is so. Yeah, so it seems that even until now the image is not coming out as we want. So this is something I'm going to solve in this video, and in the next video, hopefully, guys, let me just return this to 100%. In the next video, I'll have come up with a solution, and I'll share with you guys what the error might be, but I believe it's something, it's maybe a slight oversight that I'm not seeing either here on the source, probably here on the source. It will put 100. Okay guys, so that's it for this video today. In the next video we are going to look at post request. Again, this is the longest, and the next ones will be quite short because it's now just, it's the same thing, it's only like a few things that change here and there. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. As always, follow me on my Twitter, and the Telegram link is in the description below. Ask me any questions there. I'll upload this code to GitHub. I don't know, I'm waiting for some magic to happen here as I wind up. And I've also received some requests from people that I need to make my videos shorter, so it's something that I'm working on. And I hope, like, now from the next video I'll be doing like maybe 10 to 15 minutes per video, then we'll continue like that until I finish. Again, I'm trying to do this in the easiest way that I can, with a little time that I'm able to get. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Please subscribe, leave a comment, and also follow me on my Telegram. Bye.